Hi, I'm Joe Friel. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how to pedal a bike today. This is Ryan Bolton. Ryan is on the 2000 U.S. Olympic team in triathlon. Ryan's here to help me today show you some of the things that have to go into how you pedal a bike economically. The first part of this, really, in pedaling the bike is learning to pedal the bike horizontally. That sounds strange, I know, but usually what we're thinking in terms of doing is pedaling the bike vertically. We think about the pedals going up and down, or we think about them going in circles. And really what I want you to think about doing is thinking about the pedals going horizontally on the bike. Ryan, if you stop pedaling for a minute. Actually, what we'll look at here is how to pedal the bike horizontally. But really what the foot doing is moving forward at the top of the pedal and moving backwards at the bottom of the pedal stroke, as opposed to trying to push the pedal down and pull the pedal up. So we're really trying to work on these two horizontal aspects of the pedaling movement. One way there's actually about 3 ways to work on this, 3 mental cues you can use. The first is the concept of pushing your toes forward in the shoe at the top of the stroke. So from this position here, the feeling Ryan would be trying to get as he's pedaling the bike is that he's trying to touch his toes to the end of his shoe. When he does that, that means his foot is actually pushing forward, and so we get this horizontal movement of the foot and ankle again, as opposed to just strictly this up and down movement of the foot and ankle. Or another way of doing this is to put the pedal at the bottom of the stroke and to think about this position down here, scraping mud off the shoe. So if you had an old-fashioned scraper by your back door and you had muddy shoes, you would simply scrape the mud off back here, and so it would be a movement like he's doing right there, where the foot would be coming up and backwards. So again, we'd be working on the horizontal aspect. Some people find they pedal better if they think about this as opposed to the top portion. Yet another way of doing this is to think about the knee cap being thrown over the handlebars as the leg comes up. Some people like the notion, the feeling that gives them, that movement of this very top portion of the stroke right here, by getting the sensation that the kneecap's about to be thrown over the handlebar. So by doing some combination of those, or working primarily on one of those at first, you'll be able to develop the feel of trying to pedal the bike in these horizontal manners instead of in vertical manner. Now, there's some drills you can do to work on this. One of these is the isolated leg turning drill, and all you do is unpedal, unclip one foot. You can put on a chair or a box, or as Ryan is doing here in the trainer behind you, and then just pedal with one leg, Ryan. And all we're going to do is pedal for like 30 seconds and concentrate on one of those techniques I just mentioned, either pushing the toes forward to the top of the stroke, pulling the foot back to scrape the mud off at the bottom, or the feeling of throwing the knee over the handlebar as it comes across the top. Those are some drills you can work on to improve that technique. We'll flip back in the other foot now, Ryan. There's also another aspect of trying to pedal economically I want to talk about, and that's the position of the foot when it's on the pedal. What we really want, when the foot is in this position, and actually all the way through the stroke, is that the heel remains slightly above the pedal. We don't want the heel to be sagging down in this position as your foot goes through the pedaling stroke. We're trying to keep the heel slightly above the pedal all the way through the pedal stroke. So Ryan, if you pedal like that, you'll notice that his heel stays elevated. He's not dropping his heel to any place during the stroke. What he's done by doing this is he's actually rotated the crank arms slightly forward, which makes it easier to pedal through this horizontal position at the top. So this little movement, this little lifting of the heel, adds a little bit more economy to the pedaling of the bike. Another aspect of pedaling the bike economically has to do with your pedal cadence. Ryan's got a nice cadence going here. He's probably somewhere in the low 90s, which is very economical for most riders we found. If you get your cadence down very low, let's say it's 84 or lower, which is not unusual to find in some cyclists, especially in triathletes I've found, who tend to get in bigger gears and push big gears, and some time trialists, you'll start wasting more energy. What we really want to do is we want to learn to pedal at the highest end of your comfort range. Ryan's comfort range probably brings him into the around 110 to 120 RPMs. That's like the upper end of his comfort range. If we can get him comfortable in that range to move it actually to the lower down his comfort range, so he has a higher comfort range, we can make him more economical. One way to do that is to work on a drill I call spin-up drills. What we're going to do over the course of 30 seconds is spin up from his normal 90-some cadence up to as fast as he can go with his legs until eventually he's bouncing on the saddle. So let's try that, Ryan. Let's go 30 seconds, and let's start right now. Bring your cadence up gradually. Let's keep bringing it up and bring it up and bring it up even higher and higher and higher. Let's get up to like 130, 140, just keep bringing it up. And what you'll notice when we hit his top end, when we get beyond his economical range, his hips start bouncing. When we hit that, we want to slow the cadence back down again so it just stops. When it just stops, we're now economical again. Pedal there for a few seconds and then slow back down to your normal cadence again. Okay, let's talk about that leg on the back side. We've been talking so far about what's happening as the foot goes through the pedal stroke at the tops and the bottoms, and we already know that most of the force is being applied on this side right here as his foot is pushing the pedal down to about the 3 o'clock position. But what happens on the back side, the recovery side of the pedal stroke, is also critical to this. Okay, Ryan, would you stop pedaling for a while? This leg is now on the recovery side. What you do with the leg on the recovery side is critical for your economy. If you allow this leg to simply rest on the pedal, all the weight of this leg now sitting on the top of this pedal, the other leg is going to have to work harder to lift this pedal up on the back side. Very, very wasteful. Another way to waste energy with the on the recovery side is if you try to pull this leg up. If he uses his hip flexors and his hamstrings to try to pull this leg up, he's also going to be wasting energy. Again, we don't want to do that. The only time you really want to do that is when you're climbing or when you're sprinting. All we really want to do with this leg on the recovery side is unweight the pedal. We want to try to take as much weight off the pedal as we can. So we're simply trying to pick up the foot off the pedal. You might think of this as being a platform pedal. There's no clips, and your foot is simply sitting on top of a platform, and all you're doing on the back side is actually just trying to take your foot off that pedal. Just lift up a little bit. Now in reality, that's not going to happen. In reality, because of the centrifugal force, your foot's going to stay on the pedal, but we can minimize the amount of weight, the amount of force being applied downward on the back side by simply trying to unweight. So that's another way to improve your economy, by simply working on taking the weight off of this pedal on the back side. Now, also, what we don't want to see happen, let's go back to pedaling again, Ryan, so we can talk about what's going on with your entire pedal stroke. When you're pedaling the bike, what we'd like to have happening is the knees staying in line with the pedals. So if you were to look down as you're pedaling the bike, what you should see is the knee in line with your pedal. If you see the knees are pointed in towards your top tube, we're actually wasting energy at that point. And the reason you do that, the reason that's been talked about for decades, especially in European circles, is the need to become more economical by bringing the knees in. But it creates some problems. It also at the same time makes you less economical. You now have angles that you're creating which are this way from your knees down to the pedal, and that's not a very economical way to pedal the bike. We're much more economical with the knees over the pedals. Also, bringing your knees in toward the top tube is likely to put more pressure on the knees, and for some people that could result in knee problems, some injuries. And we certainly don't need more injuries to compound our problems. To improve your economy, you must work at it all the time. It takes consistency and it takes patience. If you're consistent, if you're patient with yourself, I can guarantee your cycling performance will improve. But you must remember one thing: you're now working with a system you're probably not used to working with. We're now working with a nervous system. I'm sure you're used to working with the aerobic system and the muscular system, and those systems, you know how they respond. You're used to that. But now with the nervous system, it takes more time. You must be patient with yourself. You must allow yourself to be able to adapt to what you're doing in training. Don't try to rush it. It's going to take something on the order of months, not days, to get yourself to the point you're much more economical. If you do these things, if you continue to work on your economy year-round, I can almost guarantee that you'll be a much faster cyclist because of it. Good job, Ryan.